Hello everyone, it's Mike Lazar here, and welcome back to the channel. And before we begin today's video, I would like to remind you guys that I'll be offering my intermediate Byzantine chant course this summer. The lectures start tomorrow, so make sure to register in the description down below. And if you end up missing the first class or two, they will be recorded, so you'll still have access to the lectures, even if you missed the first class. So, in today's video, we're going to discuss how to analyze a cherubic hymn. Now, cherubic hymns, this video is not going to talk about the notes of a cherubic hymn. That is kind of something that is not going to help us understand the flow of a cherubic hymn. We have to look at the form and the progression of a cherubic hymn. So, the first thing is the form. Usually, cherubic hymns have an intro, and then they have a building section where it gets to like the first climax. And then to the first climax, it dies down, and then it builds up to a second climax, depending on the length. Some cherubic hymns might only have one climax, but usually there's two. And then it doesn't die down completely. It falls a little bit, but not like fully dies down. And then they have the Oston Vasileia section, or that we receive the King of All section, which takes that tension and then resolves it temporarily, builds it back up, and then resolves it. And then you have the Tes Angelices, or invisibly escorted by the angelic hosts. And that section, again, has a small intro, maybe just like the first line, and then it builds up to the climax, falling, and then resolution back down to the bass note. So we're going to take a cherubic hymn and look at the form and analyze, where is this introduction? Where does the build-up begin? Because this will help us understand how the cherubic hymn is created, and then help us understand how to sing it. So the one I'll be using is the cherubic hymn, the first mode one from Phoca Eos. Now, I really enjoy the Phoca Eos cherubic hymns because they have this similar form of very consistent form, but it also has a lot of creative elements to them. It doesn't feel like it's a copy and paste just with a different tone. There's a lot of nuances and certain idiosyncrasies that really define his writing, and it's very well written too. So, the first thing is the introduction. So obviously, the first note is part of the introduction. Now, some cherubic hymns might have a full-fledged introduction that might be like 2 pages long. These are more common in the Arabic repertoire of music. But in this case, there's no previous intro. This is kind of the start of the hymn. So the intro, starts here. So if you look at the music, the introduction characteristically doesn't build anywhere. Usually likes to go down to a low pitch just to really settle into the tone. So, and then likes to go back up to the tonic pitch. Or when I say tonic, I mean bass note, the bass pitch. In this case, it's pa. So starting from here, so this is, seems like it's just helping us get a sense of the tone. Next. Same thing. It feels like it's just introducing the tone. Doesn't feel like anything special. So we know that this is still part of the introduction. This is the cadence to a lower pitch. Again, this is a very common thing to have in the introduction. So we know that this is still part of the introduction. The next section. Represent. I feel like this is the way you wrap up the introduction. We have established we're in first mode. We have gone down to the low pitch, and now we're back up to where we began. Pa. This is, very, very easy way to see that this is kind of like the beginning of the hymn. This is where the hymn starts. This settles us into first mode. And obviously I'm singing this a lot faster than you would perform it, but just to simply get through the, material to figure out what it looks like. But it helps us get settled with the tone and helps the listeners understand, this is the introduction. It sets the mood for what's coming next. What's coming next is the first climax. So the way the climaxes usually are set up is you have a cadence before it that feels a little bit incomplete, a little bit weak, and then you have the next phrase build off of that cadence to the climax. So let's look at this. This is a very common pre-climactic phrase. This is something that is very common to see before a climax. So if you look at the text, the cherubim feels like it needs to go somewhere. Cherubim doesn't feel conclusive at all, unless you're in Agya. That's a little bit different, but that doesn't feel like it's settled. It feels like it wants to go somewhere. And then we look at the next line. It builds into that. This feels like there could be a lot more. It doesn't feel like it's conclusive. It doesn't feel complete yet. It feels like it has a little bit more before it gets to that big climax. So this is building into it. This is like right before the peak. I'd say the peak is probably here. And then if you're like, oh, it's going to hit. Enchant. Yes. So, feels like it's right there. This is where the peak is. Now the next line. The thrice holy, the thrice holy hymn. Everything starts to die down a little bit. So one thing you can tell this is going to be the climax. This thora here says that now everything is transposed higher in pitch. To build drama, you like to put things usually a little bit higher. You don't really get dramatic from going lower. You get dramatic from going higher. Same thing here. This is telling us now we're going to fall. The thrice holy, the thrice holy. You could sing it with the thrice holy, with all those attractions. But ultimately, it wants to go da 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 da, wants to fall back down to thee, and now it feels like all that climactic energy and is finally dying down, and then it ends up here. To the life gaining. So this section is the first building, climax, resolution, back down. This is the first instance of it. The next part. Trinity. This is kind of like a pseudo climax. It finally resolves, and then it throws it back at you. So this is kind of a new section. So, although it's new text, it provides new tension. Some might argue, so if I were to make a graph of this, maybe this is not the actual end. In reality, the piece kind of goes like this. The introduction, then builds up, first climax, goes down, second climax, and then stays up here. And then Oston Vasilea likes to go up a little bit, then back down to almost where we started. Maybe a little bit more, it could be a little bit less, could be more like here. But you can see that, this resolution is not going to be as strong as this one, but it still feels a little bit resolved. So here, this is the next section of building. And then this is the same cadence as before. The da 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 da. And you can tell this is like another climax. The energy's still up. And then it builds back up from here. Every earthly care. So we can see here, we landed about here. We got another climax, fell a little bit, another climax, here we are, back to here. Now we have the Oston Vasilea, which builds off of the tension that we just developed. That we may receive. So this is kind of like a small intro, but it immediately builds back up. Now they put this as like extra material, but it does the same thing as before. It kind of develops. Save the So you can just see that this is just simply adding embellishments to the King of all. Ultimately, it's still building to the same climax. It's just adding a bit more of the material before it. The King of Naval. Finally, the resolution, and then the great entrance. So we can see that the Cherubic hymn is not a slow, boring piece. It has building. It wants to build. It has things that you can add to phrase things, and this will help you get a sense of dynamics. You cannot start the piece fortissimo. You have to start it piano, because otherwise there's no place to build. If I start like la, I'm already at a mezzo forte. I have nowhere to build. I have to start off slow. And this understanding of form allows us to build a better framework. Finally, we have the Oston Vasilea. Teslangelikes, the invisibly escorted. The invisibly escorted by the angelic orders. This has its own. It kind of doesn't really have an intro in this case, but it has if you get the Greek section, it has more of an intro. Teslangelikes intro. Auratos, the climax. Doriforumen taxasin. It has this idea of intro, build, resolution. So understanding this will allow you to not only learn cherubic hymns in a more effective manner, but also allow you to have the music have more life in it. If you start the music, without understanding the form and the progression of the music, then you'll have no idea of where the music will go. The other thing is that understanding this form for Papadic hymns will help to not only help you learn more, but also help you analyze more difficult Papadic hymns. Because ultimately, a lot of the more difficult hymns have the same form, but much more embellishments and elaboration. We can see, like, this section here, like the it's just an embellishment on whatever this is. The king. But they have this, optional quote unquote section. Although in the original Greek I don't think these are considered optional, but in this case he marks as optional. So overall, if you look at the form of a piece, it'll help you get a better idea of it and help you analyze it. And I hope that you can apply this to not only cherubic hymns, but other hymnography and other forms of music as well. Because ultimately, understanding how a hymn functions and how it's formulated will give you a better sense of how it was written, and therefore a better sense of how to interpret it. Because composers, especially with longer hymns that require a little bit more musical adeptness, will have to take into consideration what they want to do musically, which parts they want to build at, which parts they want to climax at. So, I hope you found this video helpful. Please make sure to register for the course. A link will be in the description down below. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one, and have a great day.